Well, thanks for taking the time today. I know it was a little busy in your schedule, but yeah, can you start off just by introducing yourself and telling us what you do?
Yeah, I'm Brian Emling. I'm a CPO in a pediatric setting. I work a lot with, uh, I do both orthotics and prosthetics, and see a lot of kids for kind of upper extremity anomalies where the solutions are rather kind of complex and need unique solutions that might not be available. So uh, I am constantly trying to figure out how to design something or how to combine certain components that are currently existing to create unique solutions for unique problem sets.
Nice. Now, it sounds like a perfect use case. So, like, take me through where you were with your custom fabrication before you started using digital design. Like, what were some of the challenges you had to do every day that digital design ended up taking over for you?
Yeah, I think you know, 5 years ago or so, a lot of the design work was like truly being done by our technical staff, and I think although they have amazing resources and really good technical staff, the patients are coming in and I'm seeing them. I'm kind of designing. Uh, Designing within my own mental space and drawing things out, considering components that exist, and then I'm trying to communicate that to a technical person that unfortunately just can't always be here when this kind of a random patient comes in with a unique challenge. Um, and so I a lot of like 5, 10 years ago, I was doing a lot of the design work in my head and then trying to communicate that to somebody else. And you're talking about components more or less in theory and how they're going to be oriented. And I don't think that the solution you ended up with was usually what you kind of thought of in the very beginning. Uh, I think that's the same case in 3D printing and digital design, but the beauty of it is that you have renderings of that on a screen rather than going through the entire fabrication process, getting it and then and knowing how much time somebody else put into it, and finding that it missed the mark on a few things. In the digital design space, like I have a few projects now that I've already prototyped three things. They don't hit I know that they don't hit the mark in certain areas, but I'm just going back into Fusion and redesigning, and I'm going to print it on the FDM machine for a few dollars, and then probably have to reiterate or iterate again, and do another prototype. So as a clinician that's faced with the problems, I can design and print and redesign in a matter of time and not really take the resources of other technical staff
Yeah.
until maybe the very end.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's such a good use of it. You definitely get to see the full design process digitally before you ever get it in someone's hands and you go through that time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you completed or you've taken some of the O&P digital designer courses. What have you experienced in your journey so far? Working with me or taking those courses, and how compared to what you were doing before, how has it changed from then into now, based on some of the experiences you've had with O&P
Yeah.
digital designer?
I mean, Fusion is what I typically work in, and before working with you or being exposed to some of your classes, the learning curve just seemed incredibly steep, and to the point where I was like, I don't know that I have the time uh, uh, to sit down and try to figure it out. And your classes are so targeted, and it makes it like digestible that the just that like kind of fear that I don't know if I'll be able to figure it out, like, goes away. And you know that you still have to spend the time, but you've got such an excellent resource in I mean, your knowledge base, but then also just the class itself, the pace that it goes, the how you work through some of the like the constraints that happen in fusion, and how you talk through all of it. It makes it digestible, and I think it makes it possible for a clinician in our day and age to learn a new skill, and continue to build on it. So uh,
Nice.
I think it really is invaluable, for where our field is right now.
That's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate it. Take me through potentially some of the results that you've seen, that you've done with this course material. Do you have an example of something that, you've done that is sort of directly from that?
Yeah, so one of our orthopedists, is uh, it has some components that they'd like to incorporate, and uh, using your coursework material, uh, I've already like your coursework is very targeted, but it gives you a lot of knowledge of fusion, like how fusion actually works, so that you can continue to design outside of what your classes are, which I think emphasizes like how powerful that is, or how powerful and valuable the class is. Um, and so I'm working on these components that are not related to any of the information that targeted information that you've created, but from those classes, I'm designing, and I've already like prototyped three different versions of it to work with her on, to figure out, does it meet what her expectations are. And I've done it all on the FDM printer, and then on the eventually I'll be printing on the multi-jet fusion, once we have the parts to where we think that they meet kind of her expectations.
Fantastic. Um, what would you tell anyone else who's looking to learn digital design for the first time, or feel like that this is a new thing that they want to take up but don't know where to start? Like, how important is digital design literacy, do you think, when for the future of the practice, and people's ability to be able to create better value for their patients?
I mean, I like when I first got into clinical practice almost 10 years ago. uh, there was the question of, like, is will it exist, and or will clinicians adopt? And I don't think, with how much we're seeing, other companies get involved, with design or scan to print options. uh, like, it's not a question of, like, will we, it's, like, how long will it take for the majority of us to start to adopt? And it's not a solution for everything, but it certainly it provides very, um, I think, very valuable solutions, with certain patients that there might not be a clear answer for. Uh, and as far as, like, um, how, I don't know, how how to adopt it. I Anyone that's new to it, like, take the spend the $200 or whatever it is, to whatever value it is, a couple $100 to take a class, because it'll save you an immense amount of time, and it teaches you the kind of the basic rules that you need to, or should try to operate under, so that, like, down the line, maybe, three versions later, you can just go into a design that you've created and change one thing, and it updates, all the other kind of dimensions. Whereas if you start just designing and not obeying those basic rules, if you need to change something, then you might be starting completely over. And I
Yeah.
think that's where, like, your classes really teach you how to sketch and design, so that if you need to change one thing, the rest of your design hopefully follows, and changes based on a simple change. And that's so powerful uh, when time is so limited as a clinician.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you saw the value, and you've been practicing it really well. So that's definitely why I wanted to talk to you and to showcase your guys' work. And so I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know you got a busy time ahead of you, but really appreciate your work. And let's continue to make the field as good as it can when it comes to digital design.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's I think a long time coming for somebody to outside of the field to look and say, this CAD or this design software has value, and to make a targeted curriculum for our field is just, and I think it's great for you as somebody that like recognizes a problem and sees a solution, and to be outside the field to do that. Like I just I'm so appreciative of what you've done,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I hope that clinicians that are interested find their way to some of your classes, and whether they continue with Fusion or they continue with another program, but they just start to understand the basic design principles in CAD, and they use that as a platform to continue to design, because it's such a powerful tool for clinicians.
It is. You're absolutely right. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Arthur.
Awesome. Yeah, that was perfect. That was absolutely
Great.
perfect. So I will edit that and put that in the queue. I might release that maybe within a week's time. So maybe
Okay.
just keep an eye out for that. I'll tag you and only you in it, and we'll
Yeah,
go
if you
from
want
there.
to do it on, I guess on LinkedIn, is that what you do it on?
Yeah, or you, and it
Yeah.
might maybe YouTube too. But I got to
Okay.
put them somewhere so the marketing team can sort of point to them when they do ads.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
As long as it doesn't say anything about Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, we should be fine.
Okay, that's really good to know. So, and that'll be standard across the board for other people too. You think, or is that just particularly this?
No, I mean, like hospital systems, anyone that like you like has a very controlled logo, or um,
Yeah, like a
you're gonna find
blockbuster or
that. But I
something.
think like most hospital systems will. Just children's is, I don't know. I feel like sometimes the marketing team doesn't have enough to do, so they just go out and find ways to, you know,
Harass.
yeah. So yeah, they can be quite challenging, but
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much, Brian. I'll
Yeah,
be
man.
in touch with anything else. Let me know if you need any other further help.